Folks, right now, I'm going to bring a special guest, a friend and hit songwriter. Folks, he was nominated in the North American Country Music Association International 2006 legendary songwriter, award-winning multi-platinum hit songwriter, folks. He's written songs for Tim McGraw, Hank Jr., Little Texas, Brady Seals, and Jeff Cook. Y'all put your hands together for Tommy Barnes. How you doing, Tommy? Good to see you now.
You forgot to say good looking too, Mark. I left that off the list. That's oversight on my part.
Tommy Barnes, y'all. It's nice to be in the same room with the hit songwriter. Folks, this guy wrote the song that made Tim McGraw a star, Indian Outlaw. Y'all put your hands together for him.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Just tell us a little bit about how that you got that song to Tim McGraw, or how that whole thing evolved.
A lot of people don't know this, but Tim and I met his very first night in town, and it was the day Keith Whitley died, and I was over at the Hall of Fame Lounge, and I just had a cut on Hank Jr. and Tom Wopat right about that time, and I was sitting at the counter, and Tim walks up and introduced himself, said he was looking for some songs to try to get a deal with. So we went upstairs to the hotel room, and I didn't remember playing him that particular song that night, but he said years ago that I'd played it for him that night, Indian Outlaw, and then for about 5 years, he wanted to record that. He played it everywhere he went, and they were afraid of maybe the backlash on the song, but Tim finally convinced Mike Curb to come out to a concert one night and to watch the people's reaction, and based on that, they decided to go ahead with it. I think that was a good decision. But that's kind of how that all came about. You know, it's just Tim and I were friends for a long time before, you know, that song ever surfaced.
Being at the right place at the right time, and a new artist that did he have a record deal at that time?
No, he, you know, when I first met him, he just had come to town. It was his first day, so he didn't have, you know, he had a big dream, and he, you know, he's gone a long way, and I give him 2 thumbs up, boy, because he's done a whole lot with it since then.
That's good. Y'all put your hands together for Tommy Barnes, y'all.
Thank you.
What you want to sing us today, Tommy?
I'm going to do one that I had out about the same time Indian Outlaw was out. Little Texas took to #1 for us that year. A little thing called My Love that I wrote with Porter Howell, Brady Seals. Some of y'all might remember this one. Get on your mark, get set, ready or not, here I come. Girl, you've been looking for love, honey, I can give you some. When your world is standing still, I can turn it around. Put your head up in the clouds and pick your feet off the ground. My love, are you ready for my love, my love? My love is ready for you. If you're looking for a heart that's always true, only to you. My love, my love is ready for you. My love is ready for you. My love is ready for you. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. That's great, man. Tell us a little bit about how you got that song to record it. Y'all put your hands together, Tommy Barnes, y'all.
Thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you got some songs recorded by Hank Jr.
Well, you know, I'd love to tell that story, because that's the first song I ever had recorded was by Hank Jr. back in 1988. I had a song I'd written called Man to Man, and I grew up in North Alabama and was probably the second biggest Hank Jr. fan in the world. #2, Hank's #1. I'm #2, but that's what I like about Hank. So I was sitting around one day, and And when I wrote that, I thought, man, if Hank Jr. ever hears this, it's cut. And I spent about a year and a half trying to get that to Hank, and I'd hear people say, well, they'd played it for him and he didn't like it or whatever, and I just couldn't accept that. I was so stubborn. So one night I was at a party and Merle Kilgore was there, the senator, the Boogie King was there, and I asked Merle about the song, and Merle said, son, I haven't heard it. I've never heard the song. And I said, well, how can I get you a copy? And he said, well, send me a copy to Paris, put on there requested by Merle. And I said, okay. So the next day, Wayne Perry, a good friend of mine who passed away last year, Wayne called me, and Wayne would sneak into a place he had a ticket for. He just loved, you know. So he called me the next day and he said, Hank Jr.'s doing Nashville Now tonight. So we snuck in backstage at Nashville Now. And I gave Merle Kilgore a copy of that song. And 3 days later they called me and said, Hank loves it, wants to do it. And 2 weeks later he was doing it live on the CMA Awards. So wow. Some of y'all that's out there that's trying to get your song to somebody, if you really believe in it, it might take you a while, but just hang in there and just keep, if you really believe it, just keep on and keep on and keep. I don't care if it takes you 20 years, you know. Don't stop till you quit. So anyway, that's how I got my first Hank cut. And if you don't mind, I'd like to do the last one I got on. This is a song that I wrote a few years back with a friend of mine, Rocky Stilwell, who used to write for Merle. And it's kind of, I'm a big Roger Miller fan, and this makes about as much sense as some of his, but it's about, you know, about as crazy as you can get without losing your mind. But Jeff Cook from the Alabama band recorded this about 3 or 4 months ago, and he took me out to the truck and played it for me. And on the last part, it was just blank. All there was music. And he said, I'm going to get Hank Jr. in there. And so he called me up a couple of weeks later and said Hank had come in and put the third verse on it. So I can't wait to hear that. It goes like this. Hickory, dickory, dock, the cuckoo flew off the clock. Big hand stopped at 2:30. I tried to catch it, but I didn't have time. I was going in and out of my mind, trying to get myself out from under, getting over you. Well, the sun went down, but the moon won't shine. Last time I seen it was 9:08, and now it's 13 minutes after she walked out the door. Hey, beanie, weenie, eeny, meeny, mic-mac, mo. Beating myself, playing tic-tac-toe, and kicking my crazy heart across the floor. Cause Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde wouldn't give a little Red Riding Hood a ride. Mac Daddy bought a caddy, it's a lime green limousine. Hey, Crack Jack Eddie got banned at the zoo, popping peanuts with Scoop Doggy Poo. Lord, the deaf man heard, the blind monkey saw the whole dang thing. This is Hank's part. Counting the kangaroo, saw Jack and Jill cruising Music Row in the Coupe de Ville, eating strawberry pudding, drinking huckleberry wine. Hey, purple smoke rings in a neon haze, honky-tonk nights that last for days, beaming down Scotty back to 1969. Cause Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde wouldn't give a little Red Riding Hood a ride. Mac Daddy bought a caddy, it's a lime green limousine. Hey, Crack Jack Eddie got banned at the zoo, popping peanuts with Scoop Doggy Poo. Lord, the deaf man heard, the blind monkey saw the whole dang thing. Hey, hickory, dickory, dock, the cuckoo's back on the clock. It's time to get up off the wrong side of the bed. Cause Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde wouldn't give a little Red Riding Hood a ride. Mac Daddy bought a caddy as a lime green limousine. Hey, Cracker Jack, Eddie got banned at the zoo. Popping peanuts from Scoop Doggy Poo. Lord, the deaf man heard, the blind monkey saw the whole dang thing.
Tommy Barnes, y'all.
Thank you. I'm Tommy Barnes, and you're watching TMT Television, and you stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you much.